chat with Dave Walden during, in the last few days, and it was felt that sort of 60 minutes, which was the maximum of players any player did tonight, would be the equivalent to sort of 70, 80 minutes, probably 80 minutes in normal conditions, just because of the temperature. So we jigged it around and did the game into 3/3. Took some working out.
Rising temperatures may have impacted the schedule and the way Nigel Clough wanted his pre-season to play out, but it hasn't stopped his side continuing to impress this week, remaining unbeaten against Championship opposition. A Refusals goal late on Saturday helped the Stags secure a draw against Rotherham United, before, behind closed doors last night, Hiram Boateng grabbed the headlines with another 2 goals to raise the excitement levels once more. Tonight on the Mansfield Matters podcast, we'll reflect on those 2 games and delve into yet another new addition as Riley Harbottle joins on a season-long loan from Nottingham Forest. We'll also delve into the flexibility approach and discuss why this time around there's a feeling that square pegs in round holes won't be an issue.
People playing in different positions, which was another important factor tonight, because we never know, we might need them throughout the season. Jordan Barry's sort of filled in at centre half for us. Ollie Clark's gone back there. Laps has played right wing back. Jason Law's gone to left wing back. Very important that they get familiarised with this. You never know when you might need them.
As always, we want your comments, questions and opinions on all things Mansfield Town in the live feed, so come and have your say and get involved with the show. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast. Well, we did it. We managed to survive the heat. Here we are again for another episode of the Mansfield Matters podcast. Thanks, as always, for joining us on the show for the fans, by the fans. Well, we're getting closer and closer and closer now to the start of the new football season. So we're all looking forward to that Saturday in a week's time. And today we've all got our match tickets as well. Well, some of us have. The online ticketing system has really done us a favour in that one. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. As always, come and have your say on your team in the comments, and any Mansfield Town related questions, comments, opinions. We want to hear them on the show. Joining me tonight to talk all things Mansfield Town, we've got the Edwin Stowe Stag, Mr. Clive Parkin. Good evening.
Good evening, Craig. Good evening, everybody.
And we've also got the man who's been out in the heat, collecting your rubbish and being an all-round legend, Mr. Alan Wilson. Good evening.
Good evening, Craig and Clive. Good evening, everybody.
Nice to see you both again. We might get Nathan pop on later on, but for now it is just us. We would usually do this on a Thursday, but availability this week means we shift it to a Wednesday. Well, let's start and get the heartbreaking bit out of the way. Come on, who's going to attack me first for actually missing a game? Who's going to fire it at me?
Nobody, because you've got other when needs must, Craig. You have to do what you do for yourself. Nobody's going to have a go at you for that, surely.
Guarantee if Nathan and Cam was on, they'd both be on at me right now, but there you go.
It would be absolutely cruel to inflict even more psychological pain on you than you've already got.
I mean, I did watch it back in full the following day, so I have since watched it back, so it's not all bad. But yeah, I did miss Saturday's game at home to Rotherham, so I'm relying on you two to fill me in on what I missed, even though I have watched it back on the camera angles and things like that. But yeah, it's not the same as being there, is it? I mean, Clive, I'm going to start with you. You said sort of in closed season that you've switched from the higher ranks of the upper tier to next to Mr. Wilson's box. What was the view like?
I quite enjoy the view. Having said that, I've moved again.
Right.
We perhaps ill-advisedly chose to buy season tickets on the very back row of the lower tier, right in front of Alan's cabin. What we hadn't realised is those seats have got even less leg room than the average seat in that stand, which is not good to start with. It's because there isn't a step behind them to bolt them to. Anyway, without getting too technical, I wasn't that comfortable. So yesterday I managed to switch our 2 new season ticket seats to 2 more. Unfortunately, I've had to move into F block, which means I'm no longer in front of Alan, which means he won't be getting any sausage rolls.
Oh, so there's been a disastrous twist, Mr. Wilson. I know you were looking forward to the gifts throughout this season, weren't you?
Yes, I did offer him a nice cup of coffee at half time, but unbeknown to me, he doesn't drink coffee, and I hadn't got any tea bags with me, so that fell on stony ground. But the offer was there. But as for the sausage rolls, well, I'm deeply upset now.
I'll throw you some down from my seat in N block next season up in the upper tier. I'll throw you some down, mate.
Very kind of you.
Just just as you're standing on the pitch, ready to announce the teams,
Yeah.
when you put the clipboard up in the air,
Yeah.
that's no longer the signal for the teams coming out. That's the signal for me to throw the sausage roll.
Right, I remember that.
Oh dear. Uncomfortableness aside, Clive, how was it on Saturday? You know, a good result in the end, 1-1 against a good Rotherham side, a good goal late on. But overall, what were your assessments of the boys?
I thought they looked very good. It was a very worthwhile outing because Rotherham were a decent side and there was no gimmies at all in the game. No one was giving too much away. And considering, the time of year we're playing these games, and I thought they looked really accomplished. And I thought in the areas where you expect players to have a relationship, you could see those emerging. But I have to say, we've acquired some talent this year.
Yeah, we certainly have. And one man who is certainly catching the eye at the minute, Alan, is Haram Boateng, who scored yet again another 2 last night in the game against Sheffield United. We'll come on to that a little bit later on. But as a whole, since he's come in, he has really got people excited. And, if you were putting a bet on which player people were going to be asking for on the back of their shirts, I think the club shop will be doing a lot of Boateng 44 shirts next season.
It's just like I said, I think it was last week, it would be last week on last week's podcast. I can remember 2 things from Exeter. That was Christy Pym and Hiram Boateng. And, it just oozes quality, the bloke does. He's got a fantastic left foot. He sees the pass where sometimes maybe not others do, and I think he'll be feeding Outsey, and Outsey will have a cracking season.
Yeah, it's always good to have that service there from midfield as well. So I guess another man we saw a lot of on Saturday, Clive, was that of Christy Pym as well. He was involved pretty much from the very first whistle.
Yeah, and he had a fair amount to do, especially in the first half. But he seemed far more in control of his box than our keeper of last season did. Even though our keeper of last season was, deserving lots of credit, I thought Pym looks much more mature, and that shows in the way he dominates. And his distribution is superb. He throws out, and it's pinpoint. And the players, if they know that's going to happen, should, if they're worth their boots, be making those opportunities for him to throw the ball out to them. And it certainly happened 2 or 3 times during the game.
Well, this time last week, we had Cam join the stream, and then it all went a little bit pear-shaped. He's just joined the stream again. Let's see if it goes pear-shaped this time. Let's see if he actually manages to say more than the 2 words of hello. Where are you? What's going off?
I'm in the bedroom because I forgot we were doing podcasts, and we were just settling down to watch the build up for the football. So yeah, I forgot about that.
Are you in the new place or the old place?
Old place currently. If we do a podcast next week, I might at the new place. I'm not sure. Definitely the week after, though.
Well, whatever you do tonight for the next 10 minutes or so, whilst we've got your attention, sit still, because every time you move, your Wi-Fi drops out. So sit still, don't move, don't play with yourself. We were talking about Hiram Boateng and Christy Pym just as you popped on, Cam, and I think both of them have really made an instant impression.
They have. I think obviously Pym's got expectations to live up to. Obviously, we had Bishop that was quite a good keeper last season. And then obviously Pym, yes, we've only got him a season-long loan this time around, but there's nothing to say that couldn't become a permanent in January, for example. I don't think there was never any thought that Bishop had become a permanent. That was never going to happen. Whereas Pym, if he fits in and Clough likes what he's seeing, then you never know, he might, because he's that sort of age where he's starting to get into his prime as a keeper, where you'd want them. So, for what we've seen of him, he seems pretty decent, pretty settled, and obviously didn't. Oh, he did go. He went straight to the side on Saturday, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's got minutes under his belt already, and obviously, if Flinders is obviously he's only out for a little bit because he felt a bit of a strain, but putting in a decent performance, and he's been able to settle straight in with very limited training time, then hopefully he can get more settled, and the performances come along with that. Boateng, he's just fit straight in from day one. Very impressed with him. He's going to be a very key part of our season, definitely going forward and attacking wise. But he just seems that he can just pick the ball up from anywhere and just run with it. He's got the stamina, the pace, and the footwork to go along with it. So very, very impressed with what we've seen so far. And what he scored last night was fantastic. His second goal.
Staying on the subject of Christy Pym, Alan, Cam mentioned a good point there about him obviously being on loan, and we had that worry last season with Nathan Bishop, but the difference this time around is we always knew that Nathan Bishop would be playing at a higher level this season, aka next season when we had him last time around. I know that's a bit confusing, but there you go. I think one key point this time round is the fact that he is here on a season-long loan, but his contract will probably be up at the end of the season. Like Cam said, there'll be an option to buy him in there. I think we're probably looking at Pym as not a stopgap. I think an addition which will be here for a couple of seasons to come.
Well, I hope so, because he looks full of quality. Same as I say, when I've seen him before, he just stands out, and you remember those type of players. You know, I've seen Christy Pym before. Yeah, he had a good game. You know, like the Northampton keeper left us feeling when he had a really good game. But, you know, if he's here for the season-long loan, as you said, but, you know, could there be a possibility of, you know, signing him before then, you know, if things happen? You know, with Barry Fry not particularly being a friend of Mansfield, but, you know, it could happen, I suppose. But at least he's here for the season, and let's look forward to it.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about Barry Fry in a minute, because there's some a little bit of news which has come out today, which I think is worth talking about. We never usually talk about rumours too much, but we'll touch upon that. As always, keep your questions, comments and opinions coming in. Jamie says, Boateng's looking good. Still need a striker. I was very impressed with James Gale in the Sheffield United game last night. We'll talk more about him later on. Craig in the comments, though, Clive says, I think we should keep that midfielder as well, McGeoch. I'm not massively sure about that Dylan McGeoch, to be honest, Clive. I mean, he's a very good player. Nigel Clough rates him a lot. He seemed to fit in well. He had a good game from what I saw on the footage, but I think it was more of helping him out because we are massively overloaded with midfielders, and I think it would take us, even with an injury, I think it would take us losing one of those midfielders on a transfer, either loan or permanent, to open the door for McGeoch, because at the moment there's no place for him, is there?
No, I mean, to take him on, and I thought he looked a good enough player, certainly at our level of football. But to take him on, we'd have to ship somebody out. Who would you ship out to put him in? I don't think anybody we've got at the moment we want to lose. And we can have too many midfield players.
Yeah, that is very, very true. I know one player that Nathan Edge would suggest, Alan Wilson, and that would be Ollie Clark. But I thought he was doing. He's going to be a good asset for us, and interesting to see him play a little bit at centre half last night against Sheffield United. Let's go back to the Rotherham game, Cam, and what we can take away from that, because yes, we concede a goal from a set piece, which we probably should do better defending wise, but again, there's this eagerness and anticipation and desire to kick on and go and fight back. And Jason Law shows what a talent he is, putting in a good through ball, and Rhys Oates does what Rhys Oates does best.
Yeah, I think the thing with the Rotherham game is it's the first game where we've really been put under the cosh, really, because we had spells against Matlock, but you just expect them to come out and fight because we're the bigger team, whereas we've had to go and try and take the game to to Rotherham. They're the bigger team. They've got the better players, the bigger squad. So you kind of expect that we would struggle more against, and that we probably would concede first. But I think what it showed is that we're not just going to roll over whether it's a pre-season friendly or not. We was creating chances before they scored. They did score, and we got back in the game quickly. And to be honest, from the camera angle, it looked like maybe we were a bit hard done to not get a penalty towards the end. But swings and roundabouts, it's pre-season matter. But very, very impressed with the performances so far. I don't think we've maybe a little bit sloppy with the way that we conceded against Rotherham. Maybe we just need to. I don't think necessarily bring a player in or do anything particular. I think it's just trying to solidify the defence and work with.
Ding.
I don't know where it is. Oh, I do. I've spotted it. Right, hang on. Right, go on. Say it again.
I don't think we need to do anything. I think we just need to solidify the defence. And obviously, Pim.
Seamless. That was seamless. Nobody will notice that.
So we'll edit that. We'll edit that bit out and just put the good. Oh no, wait, it's live, isn't it?
Live, yeah. But like Pim's not been here long. Flinders has not been here. Has been here longer, but same again. It's still settling to a new way of playing and coaching and man management or whatever. So you're going to get these little niggles every now and again. Like you'll probably see maybe a few little mistakes in Saturday's game against Oldham, just trying to get these bugs out of his system. But would you rather get the bugs out of the system now or in 3 months' time and hit the absolute wall and don't win a game in 14 again did last season?
Do you know what? The thing which I'm pleased that we are unbeaten in the games that we've played and we've put in some good performances. But I don't want this to sound like I'm being Mr. Negative, Alan. But I really wanted somebody to hammer us and give us a tough game, because sometimes you have to learn from making those errors. And the more it goes on with us being seamless and putting in these good performances, the expectation level just rises and rises again. And I hope we're prepared for an inevitable crash at some point.
Yeah, but that's not particularly forced to happen, is it? I mean, we might go on a 14-game winning run like we went on the 14-game drawing and losing streak. I mean, it might go exactly the other way. We're going to probably get a tanking from somebody this season. It's usually the case. And oh, by the way, it's McGeough, sorry, the Scottish player, McGeough. That's
sort of why I'm glad we're not going to sign him, to be honest.
Why?
Can't say his name.
Craig,
I got it wrong till Martin Shaw very kindly told me. He came down and passed me the team sheet and it says it's McGee-O. So that's fine by me.
Oh.
I don't think we do need to be tanked by anybody, Craig. I'm going to disagree with you. I think to continue to build the way we are is much more confidence-inducing than someone taking your pants down. I mean, last season, nobody thrashed us until Wembley, really, and that was of our own making. So, we even during the 14 run and winning spell, we didn't get tanked by anybody. We weren't a bad side. That was the truth of it. And in fact, with a bit more luck, we'd have been a good side and would have been promoted. But that's gone now. And I think we set off this new campaign in far better shape than we were this time last year and the year before, in that we've not had to recruit lots of untried players. And I think if we'd have acquired nobody by now, I don't think we should have to panic. The squad we've got that are on contract is a good squad. And now what's happened is we've found a couple of really good players to add to it, and there's room for a couple more. I think that puts us in the driving seat as we go towards Salford.
Yeah, I think it really does. It'd be interesting to find out our thoughts on, next week when we pick our 11 and make our predictions, when we look at the squad shape up ahead of the Salford game as well. Let's delve into some more comments. We were talking earlier about if we were to bring in Dylan McGee, who would potentially go out. Craig in the comments has suggested Hawkins, saying Hawkins, bye-bye Hawkins, and Hawkins let us down far too much. Get over it. Come on.
Eh.
Come on.
Hawkins is not a
mid.
midfield player. He's undecided whether he's a defender or an attacker, but he's certainly not a midfielder.
I'm telling you now, next season he's a defender, he's a centre half. But again, it's gone. We've got to move on from it, and I think that's as much as it is. Yes, he did let us down, but there are other people that let us down that day as well, and we've just got to move on from it. We can't change it now, and that's the thing. And if you want a bright side, Craig, he won't be playing at Salford, will he? So there you go. Right, let's some other comments as well. Pim's looking good, looking favourite for the number 1 spot, says Jamie as well, who also says, have you seen the article in the chat? Yes, I have, and we're going to touch upon this before we let Cam go and hear a little bit from Nigel Clough. So there's an article in our local newspaper / advertising booklet, the Chad, this week, who have reportedly said that we're in for Peterborough midfielder Ryan Broom, and Barry Fry has called him disrespectful as he's refused to talk to us after we had a good bid rejected, a good bid accepted, and he refused to even enter contract talks. 2 things I think will end this conversation very, very quickly, and it might sound a bit ranty for me, but I don't care anymore. Number 1, if we did put a bid in for him and he did refuse to have contract talks with him, don't put another bid in, because he clearly doesn't want to wear the Mansfield shirt and therefore isn't fit to ever wear a Mansfield shirt. Move on. Second of all, we don't need another midfielder. Alan Wilson.
I agree 100%.
I suppose what you could say, so Alan, sorry to talk across you, but what we could say, of course, is Broom's been given the brush off.
Oh, you said that earlier on.
Right. Can this is yours, mate?
If we had signed him, he'd have to come as a sweeper.
I think personally for me, it's a waste of time signing him, because when he played for Cheltenham in League Two, and his most effective place was right wing back. What's the point in having him there? Because we've got Kellen Gordon back fit and playing well, and we've got Elliot Hewitt there, plus the endless amount of midfielders. So what's the point in signing him? If we're not going to sign McGeough, and Clough highly rates McGeough, but doesn't want to sign him because he's not going to be able to play him, or he's going to be leaving other players out they highly rates and whatever, it's just signing for the sake of signing. It's a waste of time. And if we can use that money better elsewhere, i.e. a striker, if Danny Johnson goes, combine the...
When Danny Johnson goes. When?
If.
When?
This week.
He only played a part last night because we didn't have enough players to rotate.
I think Clough has intimated he's got something lined up for him now. So
yeah.
Has anybody said who it is, by the way?
Reneth Welfare.
There you go. Back to our friend Mr. Broom. Let's sweep this one under the carpet and move on swiftly. Come on, get it. I could smell something in the air around this one. A, Barry Fry trying to shift one of his players, and B, our local advertising magazine trying to fill some space and get some clicks on their website. Let's move swiftly on. We're going to lose Cam in a minute because he's not committed. Don't kick off for 8 minutes. We've technically got you for 7. Before we let you go, obviously, next week we'll look at our squad.
Can I just interrupt you, Craig? Cam wanting to disappear to watch ladies football is a bit like Broom telling us he didn't want to talk to Mansfield Town Football Club. If he's that disinterested, let him go.
If that, I'm going then. All right.
I had one final question before.
Go on then.
What's your favourite? No, we're not doing that this series. Not doing that. Oldham Saturday. What are you expecting and what are you wanting from the final pre-season friendly?
If I'm totally honest, I'll be amazed if the 90 minutes gets finished. Because it's gone very quiet about their takeover deal, and I think their fans are still very against their board. And it seems that they've not been going to their games regardless. It's a very strange situation at Oldham. And they cancelled a load of other fixtures. A load of other teams cancelled their pre-season. I think Bolton was supposed to play them, and they cancelled on the grounds of they knew there was going to be trouble. So I don't know. I think a win, a good performance. Hopefully the weather will be a lot cooler. So get better minutes in the lads. But yeah, just about getting minutes for the players that maybe need it.
Well, there we go. You can bugger off now. You can go back into the broom cupboard.
Bye. I'm done. Bye.
Bye, Cam.
Terrible.
See you, mate. See you later.
Shocking. Terrible.
Thanks for joining. Has he gone? Happy days.
We'll
talk more. Coming up, we're going to talk more, a little bit more about the Oldham game later on. There will at least be 2 people in the crowd on Saturday, Clive, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've got the whole stand to ourselves.
Yeah, we're going to have a whole stadium to ourselves. We're going to refresh our drinks. Whilst we do that, let's hear from Nigel Clough as he shared his views on the Sheffield United game last night and all the ongoing things in and around the football club and how the horribly hot weather has affected things as well. Cloughie, over to you, son.
It's too by the weather and the temperature. We had a good chat with Dave Walden during, in the last few days, and it felt that sort of 60 minutes, which was the maximum that any player did tonight, would be the equivalent to sort of 70, 80 minutes, probably 80 minutes in normal conditions, just because of the temperature. So we jigged it around and did the game into 3/3. Took some working out. And especially losing Will Swan, we had it all worked out, and then we lost Will Swan this afternoon, so I had to rip it all up and start again. But people playing in different positions, which was another important factor tonight, because we never know, we might need them throughout the season. Jordan Barry's sort of filled in at centre half for us. Ollie Clark's gone back there. Laps has played right wing back. Jason Law's gone to left wing back. It's very important that they get familiarised with this. You never know when you might need them. All 3 were good goals in build-ups and everything, but the 3rd one stuck out because of the quality of the finish, and it probably flattered us a little bit, the 3-0 scoreline, but I think that's a contender for goal of the season already. They started very well, kept the ball, but I thought then we restricted them to very few opportunities. First of all, Christie had made one great save from a one-on-one in the first half. Had a goal disallowed for offside. Apart from that, not too many scares, and I thought we were a threat going the other way. So I thought the system is working well at the moment. It's certainly not set in stone even for Saturday or the following Saturday, but I think the players are growing into it at the moment, and we've always said we think we have the players to operate that system, especially with the flexibility and versatility within the squad. Absolutely invaluable, honestly. We've got Lucas Akins as well, who does something very similar and did for us over the years at Burton. Played every single position but goalkeeper for us. And Jordan falls into the same category because he's just a good footballer. He's got pace, he reads it, and a lot of good attributes. Then he can slot in anywhere, and they are, honestly, players like that are invaluable. Elliot Hewitt's back doing light training. He may join in Friday. We'll see how his thigh is. James Birch had a scan and will be a few weeks, just see how that one goes. Maka was out tonight with just a tight Achilles. Got a chance for Saturday, more likely training next week. Kieran Wallace is out for a few weeks with his knee, and the other one is Will Swan. Just felt his groin after training yesterday and just tightened up, nothing serious, so maybe Saturday.
Stakes boss Nigel Clough there speaking to iFollow Stakes. You can watch more from Clough at mansfieldtown.net/iFollow. A lot of things to dissect there, Alan. I think the key thing is to talk about the the we've got within the squad at the moment, and we saw that against Sheffield United last night. We played, because of the heat, 3 lots of 90 minutes, so three lots of 30 minutes across the 90, 3 different 11s, sort of everybody getting an hour pretty much in the squad who was available. And like Nigel Clough said in there, we had players playing in various positions, which included at one point for about half an hour a back 3 of Ollie Clark, Jordan Bowery, and the new signing Riley Harbottle. And 2 of those players, of course, not natural centre halves, but Nigel Clough thinking they can do a job. And do you know what I genuinely feel this year, Al? That last time when we had to when we had players unavailable, it was square pegs in round holes. I genuinely think that we've got players within our squad now who can just go out there and pretty much play any position bar goalkeeper.
I think I'd agree with you there, Craig, and I also like the looks of if young Jason Law can play left-sided, if Maka can't play. Because we've never really, apart from Burke, and he really weren't up to much, obviously, that's why he's gone, he weren't up to much at all. But I think he could do a really good job there from Jason Luggs. I've seen him play there before, when he was in the youth team, and he played a couple of really good games. And I think he's a quality lad who's, got that eye for a good pass. And I think he only bodes well, with the rest of the Ollie Clark, Jordan Barry. From what he was saying in the interview, it looks as though Barry could be playing every game. It don't matter where he plays apart from goalkeeper.
And you never know; he could still do that, Clive. Nothing's beyond the realms of possibility. But I think it's so encouraging. We've not made lots of signings. We've made good additions, but what we've got is a real flexible squad now that can capably sit in 3, 4, 5 different formations across the course of a game.
Yeah, and Bowery has proven over and over again he's adaptable. And he's reliable when he's not playing in his most obvious position. So if you're going to place faith on someone playing out of the normal position, it's got to be Barry you'd do that with. And I also think he's going to have to be flexible to get any game time, looking at the quality of the squad we've now got.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think that's what bodes well for him. And you've seen, so far in pre-season, Alan, the setup of 3 at the back. You saw it a little bit at Matlock when you came along with us for a nice chippy in the sunshine.
Yes, it was.
We left Clive fondling with some tennis balls, and then you saw it on Saturday as well. What have you made of that 3 at the back, and in particular, the new addition of who we've not really spoke about too much so far, on loan from Nottingham Forest, Riley Harbottle, who came straight in and hadn't really met his teammates up until 2 hours before kick-off.
I'm not a great advocate personally of 3 at the back. I never have been. I prefer a back 4. But whilever it's working, and if it works, I'm fine with that, to all intents and purposes. But Harbottle, he was awesome. He was very comfortable on the ball. He brought it out of defence. He got stuck in when he needed to. He got the headers when he needed to. It just looked a good, solid, young centre half. But he's not afraid. He's not frightened to keep hold of the ball. And I mean, how many surging runs? He reminded me a bit of Ollie Clark. Some at time, when he was moving forward, taking players on. He's not frightened at all. I do like the lad.
And he can play anywhere across the back line as well, Clive, which again gives us that flexibility. Yeah. I mean, he was playing for Forest on the right side centre half. He's played for us so far, where I think he'll probably slot in most that left side centre half spot. I think right side and centre are pretty much sewn up with O'Toole and Hawkins, and I think it'll be once Perch is fit, Perch will go into there somewhere, Clive. But Harbottle certainly comes in and gives us a little bit of flexibility, especially when we're probably going to lose Cooper at some point when he's released to Kettering on his loan spell.
Yeah, from what I've seen of the lad, I think he's been a great addition to our squad. Not seen much of him, but I have some friends who are, for their sins, passionate Forest fans, and they speak very, very highly of the lad. And in fact, I think he was the under-23s captain all last season. So, he's got good pedigree. What he hasn't got is enough years at the moment to make him the all-round player that I think he was going to become. And I guess that's why Forest allowing him to play for us, because they'll see him blossom with more real football under his belt.
And it makes perfect sense for him to come here, Alan, as well, with the fact that we've got Will Swan, who he's obviously been teammates with for years. There's also players that Forest know well and staff that Forest know well. It's a very, very good arrangement. I think it's only for the fact that Nathan Bishop was so good last year that George Shelby didn't get a game in the league, really. It's good to see that because of that relationship hasn't been broken in anything. I think the outfield additions will go some way to mending that, because it was perhaps waning a little bit last year when we didn't play Shelby like we suggested we might.
Yeah, well, I think that was, like you said, it was what you alluded to. It was down to Bishop, wasn't it? But if you noticed, you said that you saw the match after, didn't you? You saw it the day after. Harbottle, there was a couple of times where he brought the ball out and Swan was straight there. As soon as he got that movement, Harbottle found him with the perfect ball. And it just looked really good. And it good intensive football, in my opinion. But can I ask you a question now, Craig?
No, that's not how this podcast works. I ask the questions, you answer. No, go on.
Your three at the back, when they all fit, was Hewitt, O'Toole, and Perch. Now then, where does Harbottle fit into that?
On the bench.
Oh, fair enough.
On the bench I'll give you the proper answer. On the bench to come on for Kellen Gordon when Gordon goes down clutching his knee after 5 minutes and Hewitt has to play right wing back for the rest of the game.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I just wondered, because you're a big advocate on these three playing when they're all fit, which is fair comment. But I just wondered, if is anybody going to oust him if he starts the season well, and because you know what Clough is like, you play well, you keep the shirt, and he's proved that in the past.
No, absolutely, and I think that's why I was talking a little bit more earlier, Clive, about the flexibility, because if he is playing well, it will allow perhaps Perch to go to right wing back and compete with Kel Gordon, or it will allow maybe Hawkins to go up top, or O'Toole to sit in that defensive midfield role and sort of sweep up a little bit. I think the fluidity we've got there. In fact, fluidity is going to be another buzzword for this series. What we've got in there, I think, it's so rich. You could just pick 10 names and they could just play anywhere.
It's mind-boggling for a poor, ignorant fan like me. I like the idea of people playing the same position each week, and I know where they are and what they're up to. But I'm not sure that the three at the back we're quite enjoying at the moment is the way that Clough will take the league on. I'm pretty sure he'll resort to form and go back to four at the back. It depends on the players, doesn't it? If he's got the right talent to do a three, he'll go for three. But if he's in any doubt, I think he'll drop back to four, just to have that extra body there.
Well, the quandary you're going to have is, of course, the first game of the season where Ollie Hawkins is not available through suspension. And then you've not really had many minutes for James Perch because he's been carrying a knock. Elliot Hewitt's carrying a knock at the minute. Kel Gordon's probably not fit enough to play 90 minutes as yet. So, straight away there, you've lost pretty much all of them. And it does probably scream back four unless you move Macca into left side centre half. But of course, he missed Tuesday with a knock and a niggle.
Barry will be in the four.
It'll be interesting, won't it? I'd forgot about it. It's a good point that about Hawkins. I'd forgot about him. Yeah, it just shows you so Arbottle should probably keep his place, and perm anyone 10 with him.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are plenty of fans that would like to see Hawkins no longer a defensive player for the club. I'm not sure is what we need up front either. But that. All these things are yet to be proven. I don't think the lad's had a fair crack of the whip because we recruited him to be as a goal-scoring front man, and he never really got the chance to do it. And the only goals he scored were from set pieces by and large, and he could still do that from wherever he's playing. So I think we had a dependency on him last year, and he stepped up to the plate. Made a few mistakes, but he stepped up to the plate. He got a few tiles loose, obviously, when he was making some really poor decisions at times. But you get that in players. I think it's oxygen deprivation because he's so tall. But the reality is, to go back seriously to Craig's point, we have an abundance of riches. And it's not just a question of picking 11 players and shuffling the pack and throwing them down to see where they sit. They have to form little units. And that's what we're looking for. A good back unit, working with a keeper, good distribution from your keeper, and midfield that knows what their roles are. And, what are we going to do this year? I personally like the idea of a diamond, but again, I'm not sure that the players we've now got are right for that. It's going to take 2 or 3 games to sort this out.
I think it'll take more or 2 or 3 games, and I think it'll probably take around 46, and we'll see where we are at the end of it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And of course, the first game of the season away at Salford City. So it is that time of the podcast again where I failed to write the number on the graphic and I throw to Alan Wilson. So SSA away travel are up and running. They are accepting bookings for the first trip of the season. However, you must have pre-purchased a valid match ticket in order to book your seat on the SSA coaches. I've got my ticket. I've got my seat as well. Very, very simple. So I'm told the online ticketing system. That simple. My missus managed to work it and get me a ticket today. If you do want to get yourself a place on the coach for Salford away, come and join me and Clive. It's £15 if you are an Amber member or a Junior member, £20 if you're a Blue member, or £25 if you are a non-member. And to book your seat, all you need to do is listen to Alan Wilson.
Just call 07967 689 597.
For a moment there, I thought you were going to start shouting the lyrics of Carole King's "You've Got a Friend," but there you go. We'll move swiftly on. Oldham away on Saturday. I already asked Cam earlier, Clive, what he wants to see from the final pre-season friendly. It's very likely that we're going to be the only two in the stadium. What are you wanting to see from the Stags and Nigel Clough's men in the final pre-season friendly?
I'd like to see us play well. I'd like to see the new players getting plenty of pitch time, and I'd like us to win. But that's not as important as seeing the team picking up understanding now. It'd be a disappointing thing if Cam's prediction is true that there's going to be unrest. And I assume he means by that some form of pitch invasion or whatever. Very difficult to invade a pitch if you're not in the stadium, I would have thought. But the reality is they have all sorts of horrible things happening there. And I have a lot of sympathy with the fans. But I'm not to the point I would boycott a game just to be supportive of. I'll put money in the tin. I'm not going to not watch my team because of the situation that they're in. But I'm looking forward to seeing the players work well together and to gain that understanding of each other that you only get with practice.
Same question to you, Mr. Wilson.
Well, I think you two better take your boots if you're going to be only two in the stadium, but because if you can play anywhere. But no, basically same as Clive, a good understanding of what's going on. I think Nigel will probably pick, depending on injuries, more or less the 11 that he would like to start with, I would have thought, providing injuries. And, we'll see what the back centre pairing is, if obviously with Hawkins not being able to play the following Saturday at Salford.
Plenty of time between now and then. I'm just looking out my window and it is starting to rain here over Mansfield Matters HQ Towers. So I'm going to now end the podcast, strip off and go and stand in the garden. It's been a horrendous 2 days for being a ginger. What
a horrible thought.
You know what you could do? You could just sweep it under the carpet. I've already used that one, haven't I?
Yeah.
Yes, I think we've hoovered up all the jokes now.
I think you've killed that one now.
Yeah, well, Hoover's not a broom, is it? I don't know. We'll work on it. We'll work on it for next week. But there you go.
I
if
can
you're
feel
going
the poem coming on.
Alan Wilson's little ditty. We're not talking about going to stand outside in the rain. Right, that's enough. I've had enough. See
you bank
again.
on it.
Absolutely. Well, that's all we've got time for tonight. My thanks, as ever, to the Mansfield Matters podcast panel and to you guys at home for getting involved with the comments. If you listen to the audio version of this and you think, Craig, I want to get involved, how can I do that? Make sure you're following us on social media at MTFC Matters. Turn the notifications on and then you'll be notified when we're going to be live next. It will be sometime next week. Probably Wednesday or Thursday, to be fair, as we look back on the final pre-season game at Oldham on Saturday, and we'll do our squad review at the end of pre-season as we get ready for another campaign in Sky Bet League 2. Things are shaping up nicely so far. Can the Stags end pre-season unbeaten and go into that Salford game with a spring in their step? My thanks, as always, for listening, for getting involved as well. We'll see you again soon on the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast. Good night.